These are the September 28th recap, starting with Ukraine and Russia, the ongoing conflict. Ukraine has launched a significant drone offensive against Russian military targets situated in Crimea. In addition to these drones, Neptune cruise missiles have reportedly been detected heading towards the Crimean Bridge. The ongoing assaults have caused extensive internet disruptions in the city of Belgorod, located in western Russia, following the successful strikes on critical power infrastructure, including the apparent destruction of the Luch thermal power station. As a result, Belgorod, with an estimated population of 339,978, has experienced widespread outages in electricity and water supply, culminating in a full blackout. In reaction to these developments, Russia's delivered a stern warning to NATO, threatening a decisive response should the alliance continue or increase its military support for Ukraine. Kremlin spokesperson Peskov responded to Ukrainian Zelensky threats of retaliatory strikes, suggesting that Moscow's reaction would be severe if the Kremlin itself were to be targeted. Meanwhile, President Putin's invitation for U.S. President Donald Trump to visit Moscow continues to remain open while awaiting Trump's decision. Recent remarks from U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance indicate that Russia has declined to hold talks with Ukraine, either bilaterally or trilaterally, even with the participation of Trump and other U.S. officials. Additionally, Ukrainian military sources and bloggers have reported that Russian troops discovered fragments of Sept missile. President Zelensky has accused Russia of using oil tankers as launch platforms for drones targeting European countries. This evening, Ukraine escalated attacks on Russian energy infrastructure, especially in the Belgorod region, with Russian sources confirming ongoing strikes and reporting a precise missile attack that disabled the Belgorod thermal power plant. The Ukrainian Air Force claims to have successfully defended against Russian attacks, neutralizing or jamming 611 out of 643 drones and missiles. This tally includes 566 drones, 2 jet-powered drones, 35 Kh-101 missiles, and 8 Kalibr missiles, with Kiev cited as the principal target. In a related incident, a Russian air defense missile failed to intercept a Ukrainian drone, instead striking a residential area in Belgorod, as well as a school was struck that was seen all over social media through the course of today. It was the exact moment that this school was destroyed. Naval activity continues, with the Russian Navy ship Corvette 532 Byoki observed moving eastbound in the Strait of Gibraltar. That was as of September 26. Intelligence sources suggest that Russia is employing tankers to launch drones at European targets. Reports have also surfaced of a Russian submarine suffering a major fuel system failure during operations in the Mediterranean Sea, as reported by the investigative channel VCHK OGPU. Satellite imagery released online reveals significant Russian aviation losses in Crimea, including the destruction of an AN-26 aircraft, damage to 2 BE-12 amphibious planes, and losses among Mi-8 helicopters at airfields in Kasha and near Sevastopol. Moving on to NATO and European security. The German Navy frigate FGS Hamburg recently made a port call to Copenhagen as part of NATO's Operation Ballistic Sentry, a missile dedicated to safeguarding the Baltic region. For the second night in a row, unidentified drones have been spotted over military bases and other critical sites in Denmark, with an additional drone sighted over Romania. Heightened security concerns. The U.S. Navy has deployed several P-8 Poseidon Maritime Patrol aircraft to Oslo, to its airport in Norway, supporting Allied operations as NATO intensifies surveillance in response to escalating tensions with Russia and a surge of unidentified drone activity across northern and eastern Europe. Denmark has introduced a temporary ban on drone flights in connection with the European Political Community Summit. For the next week, all civilian drone operations in Danish airspace are prohibited, with violations carrying the risk of fines or up to 2 years imprisonment, according to the Danish Ministry of Transport. Now let's move on over to Moldova. Moving over here to Moldova, election developments and security concern. The pro-European PAS party emerged victorious in Moldova's recent elections, receiving congratulations from advocates of a pro-European trajectory. In the aftermath, Moldovan police and security services detained 3 individuals accused of planning mass unrest. Among those arrested, 2 brothers allegedly have connections to security agencies and are accused of organizing and supplying protest groups, and authorities confiscated pyrotechnics and flammable materials intended to incite panic. Voter turnout reached nearly 52%, with approximately 1.6 million citizens participating, and all votes in favor of the Greater Moldova Initiative were declared invalid. Palestine is preparing to join the BRICS group, signifying a notable diplomatic development. In Yemen, Israel has targeted a Pakistani vessel, reflecting rising regional tensions, and diplomatic sources clarified that any agreement with Hamas would require the group to first release all hostages and dismantle its offensive weaponry. Only following these steps would Israeli concessions be considered, which include no land transfers between Israel and Gaza and no targeted assassinations in Qatar. For Gazans, the proposed agreement would guarantee the right to safe exit and return, designate Gaza as an international duty-free zone, and establish an international force to oversee withdrawals after negotiations. The Palestinian authorities expected to participate in Gaza only after reforms are undertaken to reduce extremism, and is not anticipated to govern the territory in the future. Meanwhile, Israeli military operations persist throughout Gaza, causing significant destruction to infrastructure and neighborhoods. In the occupied West Bank, the Palestinian Health Ministry has reported the death of Mohammed Hassan Akkad, a 24-year-old Palestinian who was fatally shot by Israeli forces. The military wing of Hamas announced that it had lost contact with 2 Israeli hostages held in Gaza City, and has called on Israel to temporarily withdraw troops and suspend airstrikes for 24 hours to facilitate the retrieval of the captives. Egyptian president has stated unequivocally that Egypt will not enter into a war with Israel in retaliation to the Gaza conflict. Now let's move on to Iran. All right. Iran has recently received Russian MiG-29 fighter jets, which have been stationed in Shiraz. Domestically, the country is grappling with an intensifying water crisis, raising concerns about the population's ability to cope with ongoing shortages. Meanwhile, if you're not aware, Iran now has the snapback UN sanctions. And I want to just kind of go through what the implications and impact of that looks like now that it has started backed up. A little bit of history on that. Under the previous terms of the 2015 Iran nuclear deal and the UN resolution, which was titled Resolution 2231, previously lifted sanctions can be automatically reimposed, referring to it as snapback sanctions if Iran is found in significant non-performance of its obligations. Previously, on August 28, 2025, the UK, France, and Germany activated this mechanism, citing nuclear violations by Tehran. The process is veto-proof. If the Security Council does not extend relief, sanctions automatically return. And that return occurred yesterday officially. So the restored sanctions encompass a comprehensive arms embargo, bans on ballistic missile technology, limitations on uranium enrichment and nuclear activity, travel bans, asset freezes, and allow countries to inspect Iranian cargo. So here are the most affected areas. Oil and energy. Iran's primary revenue stream faces international restrictions. Banking, asset freezes, and block transactions. Defense, military modernization, and weapon imports are constrained. technology. Access to advanced and dual use technologies is restricted. An economy. Inflation and shortages are expected to intensify, directly affecting ordinary Iranians. Let's move on to Asia. Look at that beautiful blue planet. So, as you see, the big old typhoon right now that's all over China, can't help but notice that. But I want to get down here to the Philippines. So, the U.S. Navy's guided missile submarine, USS Ohio, has arrived in Subic Bay, Philippines, demonstrating Washington's reinforced commitment to stability in the Indo-Pacific region, with the capability to deploy Tomahawk cruise missiles and special operation forces. The submarine bolsters deterrence against regional adversaries and strengthens maritime security cooperation with the Philippines. Now, let's move on to the United States. See a hurricane. Not sure where it's headed, but it doesn't look too good. All right. So moving on over here to Mexico. The United States and Mexico have initiated a joint effort to combat cross-border gun trafficking. Meanwhile, the United States has christened the future USS Lewis H. Wilson Jr., DDG 126, which is a Flight 3 Arleigh Burke-class destroyer equipped with the advanced AN-SPY 6V1 air and missile defense radar, built by Bath Iron Works. This vessel enhances the fleet's integrated air and missile defense capabilities. In other news, authorities have identified the suspected Michigan shooter as Thomas Sanford, an Iraq War veteran and former U.S. Marine who served from 2004 to 2008. And that's sort of in other news with domestic, as there was a shooting in Michigan that came out breaking this morning and set fire to this Mormon church. And now that individual has been identified as Thomas Sanford, an Iraq War veteran and former U.S. Marine who did serve from 2004 to 2008. So without further ado, that's all I have for your September 28th recap of global conflict news. And if you enjoy content such as this, please consider liking this video. And if you'd like to see more content such as this on a daily basis, as we go live from 10 p.m. to 4 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday, as well as we post a lot of shorts, as well as I do some recaps such as what you're watching right now daily after the live stream. If that interests you, please subscribe so you can get those notifications. With that being said, thank you for your time. Thank you for your viewership. And please have a safe and rest of your afternoon. Bye-bye for now.